Some crimes shake a community. Others shatter the very idea of safety, leaving questions that echo long after the headlines fade. Tonight, we tell the story of Dustin Walker, a story that exposes cracks in our society and forces us to confront a truth we rarely like to admit. How often do we fail those most vulnerable? In the quiet corners of everyday life, the unthinkable can happen. People we believe we know, people we trust, can hide actions that change lives forever. Dustin Walker's story begins with ordinary appearances. A young man in his 20s, neighbors say polite, calm, unassuming. But behind closed doors, reality was far more disturbing. Stay with us. What you are about to hear is more than a tale of crime. It is a glimpse into a system that sometimes allows tragedy to take root, a system that asks, too late, how we could have prevented it. As we unravel the events surrounding Dustin Walker, you will need to ask yourself the same question. How close is danger when it seems hidden in plain sight? The story begins on a seemingly normal morning, routine, familiar. But beneath that calm surface, the first signs of something being gravely wrong had already begun. Small details overlooked, whispers dismissed, moments that could have altered the course of lives forever. Neighbors, friends, even family members, none could fully grasp what was happening until it was too late. This is where the weight of our responsibility becomes clear. When tragedy is preventable, silence is complicity. In the coming moments, we will walk through events that will make you question the trust you place in others, the safety of home, the faith in community. Because for Dustin Walker and those affected, the consequences were devastating. Before we continue, if you want to follow every shocking development in this case, subscribe to our channel. We will bring you the full story, unfiltered and uncompromising. Authorities describe the initial investigation as complex, a maze of conflicting testimonies, missed signals, and crucial oversights. Every detail, from minor discrepancies in alibis to digital footprints left behind, would later play a pivotal role in uncovering the truth. Yet questions remain. How did these warning signs slip past those entrusted to protect the vulnerable? How could someone operate so openly in a neighborhood where everyone thought they knew each other? And for those watching, the unsettling reality is this. These situations are not always isolated. This could happen anywhere. It could happen next door. And that is the point we cannot ignore. Dustin Walker's actions, the consequences, the victims' lives forever changed, these are the fragments we are piecing together. Each revelation exposes the failure of adults, of institutions, of a community too trusting or perhaps too hesitant to act. Tonight, you will hear accounts that are difficult to process, details that make you question the words we use for safety, for justice, for accountability. And through it all, one question persists. What happens when the ordinary is deceiving? When appearances mask danger and when society's safeguards fail?
The first signs that something was seriously wrong emerged in ways most people dismissed as ordinary. A missed appointment, a vague excuse, a text that seemed off but was quickly forgotten. In isolation, none of these incidents raised alarms. Together, they formed a pattern that hindsight reveals with chilling clarity. Family members recount moments that, at the time, seemed trivial, insignificant, but each was a thread in a story that was unraveling fast, a story no one wanted to face. Neighbors who once praised Dustin Walker for his quiet demeanor now struggled to reconcile those memories with the evidence that would later surface. Friends speak of laughter and casual conversations, unaware that behind the smiles lay behaviors that were increasingly controlling, increasingly erratic. Authorities reviewing early reports describe frustration with the lack of cooperation, the subtle ways in which warning signs were ignored or minimized. It was a system stretched thin, a network of people unwilling, or perhaps unable, to see the truth until it could no longer be ignored. Digital footprints, when examined later, told a narrative far more disturbing than anyone imagined. Conversations deleted, accounts wiped clean, yet traces remained. Fragments that, piece by piece, revealed a life that was carefully curated to conceal darker actions. Investigators described the painstaking work required to reconstruct timelines, to map connections, and to make sense of behavior that outwardly seemed ordinary. The meticulousness required to uncover these truths underscores a harsh reality. That tragedy often waits quietly, hidden within routine, until the moment it can no longer be contained. Every step forward in the investigation brought more questions than answers. How had neighbors failed to notice the subtle warning signs? How had those closest overlooked patterns that, in retrospect, were impossible to miss? And perhaps the most troubling question of all, could someone like Dustin Walker exist among us again, unnoticed, unchallenged, until the consequences were irreversible? Victims' families, their faces etched with grief and confusion, struggle to convey the magnitude of loss. Their accounts are harrowing, but they also carry a pointed reminder of the cost of inaction. Each story underscores a broader truth about accountability, community, and the ways in which society sometimes fails those most in need of protection. Interviews with those who encountered Dustin Walker before the events escalated reveal frustration and disbelief. How a person capable of inflicting such harm could appear so normal, so approachable, so ordinary. Law enforcement sources speak candidly of early missteps. Reports filed, leads pursued, warnings overlooked. Every procedural flaw, every missed signal magnifies the tragedy, making it impossible to ignore the human and systemic failures that allowed the situation to unfold.
This is only the beginning. Over the coming episodes, we will reveal how a chain of small, overlooked decisions led to a tragedy no one anticipated. Every interview, every document, every overlooked clue brings us closer to understanding not just what happened, but why it was allowed to happen. If you want to ensure you don't miss a single revelation in the Dustin Walker case, subscribe now. Join us as we continue to uncover the truth, even when it is painful, even when it makes us uncomfortable, and even when it forces us to examine our own roles in preventing tragedy. The story is far from over. And as we peel back the layers, the question remains, how did Dustin Walker go unnoticed for so long? And how many lives were irreversibly changed before justice began its slow, deliberate march?